Yes. Okay, students. So anybody else? Anybody else had any subject knowledge about the economics?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tell Ben. Yeah, Mohanty, you are from commerce background?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from BBA. So
Okay.
we had like a subject for demand and consumer behavior, product and cost, perfect
Okay.
competition, monopoly.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Good. Anybody else?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I
Yeah,
also have.
Neha. Yeah, Neha. You also had.
Yeah,
Very
I
good.
am from BCom stream,
Okay,
ma'am.
so you're a BCom graduate. Very good to hear that. Very good. Okay, students, as we know that most of you would have already studied what is economics all about and other things, correct? But to what extent it is connected to economics, that is very important, correct? So it's a bridge course. Though for them, for those who have not at all come across with this particular subject, for them it will be completely new, something different. It's not something different. Each and every one of us are connected to economics. Even if you don't want it, it is with you, isn't it? Even without your knowledge, you're doing it, isn't it? You're with your money, with your demands, with your satisfaction. And so there are two things. Even without our interest, we don't like it, but still it is part and parcel of our life. Like your economics, another is politics, isn't it? Politics also has a play in economics. All of you might have recently listened to the certain rules which have been done by the, so how many children you are going to have, even that is decided by the government. Can you give an example of the recent times?
Ma'am, China has started the policy of
Three children, correct? It
Yes,
actually, it's an overpopulated country, number one in the population, and it had in 70s, that is one child norm, and they're severely and very strictly following that one child norm. Only the first child gets all the benefits of the government, not the others. They are in the ration card, they are in, means their identity is only one particular child. Being a Asian country, male population having a what you call a patriarchal type of a population, so they used to have another child, but it was not getting any government facility. So that was the case in China at one time. They were strictly following. Last year they said two child, and now suddenly they are saying three child. No. And then even in Russia, if you see, there was, because those countries have very less population, so they used to be given a title of mother of Soviet Union. Earlier it was called as Soviet Socialist Russia, isn't it? USSR. So they were given a title like that. Whoever is to give more children means birth of to more children. So what I want to say is that how politics is involved into the economics, your personal life. So that is how we are connected with the economics and politics. Means your life is completely dependent on these two aspects of the economy and politics. Okay, so how, and of course even in business at an individual level, even at a business level, this particular economics you just can't ignore. And whatever, so how it starts, very simply, a simple way I'll tell you. We know that what is the way of production? It's all the who owns the means of production. So can anybody tell me what are the means of production? Hello?
Ma'am, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurs.
Very good, Nick. Yes, very good. It is land, labor, capital, and organization. And who owns it is very important. What is the system? That particular system is the one who is holding these resources. It will tell us the system of the economy. Can anybody tell me the systems of the economy? Various systems, economic systems by any chance? Be very free. It's only that your understanding level will help me in future to explain.
Ma'am, is it the different type of economies like capitalist, socialist, mixed like that, ma'am?
Very good, well said, correct. It is what you call as various economic systems which we are having, correct? So it's the various economic systems which we are having that helps us. So Who owns it? So as you rightly said, the capitalist economy is one where the resources are owned by private
Private
individuals.
sector.
Yeah, private individuals. So the system, who is the basic questions of the economy are what to produce, how much to produce, for whom to produce, where to produce. These are the questions which has to be answered. So how it is answered? In a capitalist system, it is a different thing. In a socialist economy, it is a different. In a mixed economy, it is totally different. So you do not find in the real world, to the present world, neither pure capitalism, nor pure socialism, nor, of course, all are mixed economies only. Why India chose this mixed economy? We chose mixed economy basically. We were very much influenced by USSR's success because of their planned economy, and India being what you call as after independence, our condition was very, there were no people who could invest huge amounts. Understood? So for that huge amount, investment could take place only by the government. And so we had a planned economy. So do we have even now the 5-year plans?
No, ma'am.
Students? What is it
Now
called
it is
as?
fixed by Niti Aayog, no, ma'am.
Very good, very good. Very good, Nikhil. You're really good at this particular subject and you have updated yourself very well. So you do not have any more 5-year plans. What we have is called as annual plans based on the Niti Aayog, isn't it? So they are the ones who are what you call as creating. So being having a 5 years, we required at that particular time. So if you see economy as such, as I already told you, you cannot have pure capitalism as such. But what we are finding now, instead of pure capitalism, even a capitalist country had many trade cycles or had many ups and downs, isn't it? So even before 1929 Great Depression, even before that, there were some kind of recessions in those economies. But slowly what has happened is that after recession, many recessions have taken place, which is very popular, 2008, 2004, these recessions, which we have recently heard about. All these recessions has taught that it cannot be pure what you call as capitalism. Intervention of the government is a must in the economies. And so it go on changing. The economies go on changing. It's not, it's very dynamic. Remember that subject like economics, day in and out with this pandemic now, what's going on with this COVID now, we see that so many policies have been implemented by our government, whether it is fiscal policies or monetary policies, and so many changes throughout the world. This has taken place, isn't it? So why this is so? Understood? Why so many? Because it's ever changing. The economy has to change according to the changes which are happening. It's totally dynamic, and whatever action is happening is having an impact on the economies. Okay, so that's very important here. So now I'll just try to share some, of course I should have done this earlier. Can you see the screen, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So I am welcoming you all for this session. Understood? We are going to first see what it is, what is economics all about. As already told you, there are individual entities. That is, whenever you're studying individual entities, it is called as microeconomics. Specific entities are studied here, individual consumer firm. So which are these entities? Basically, economy consists of individuals, that is consumers. And then whatever consumer wants, what to produce, where to produce, these questions have to be answered. Who answers them? It depends upon who is holding the resources. So in a capitalist economy, it is held by private individuals and it is a market. So market mechanism, whether it is a mixed economy or whether it is a capitalist economy, market plays a very important role. The market forces, which are these market forces? The demand and the supply, very important. So demand and supply, when these forces are there and they determine the price, and if there is a price, there is a supply. So what to produce is answered by whom? The answer is coming from the
Consumer.
From the market, yes. Okay. Understood. From the market, we are getting, yeah, customer, how he reacts.
Ma'am, he checks whether what goods will depend on him, that what the producers should produce, that the consumers will consume that. So they are the sole, means in capitalist also they are the sole player, na ma'am.
Yeah,
That what
yes, consumer is up to be sovereign. He is the one who is giving the signals what he wants, correct? And but he also, his demand is very important. He may want, there is a difference between want, like, isn't it? So can you
Yes,
tell me
ma'am.
what is a want, what is a liking, what is a demand?
Ma'am, I want,
Ma'am, want is
Yes. Like,
ma'am,
yes.
a want is the desire to acquire something, and it is backed by purchasing power. And I think demand is, ma'am, which is created, and it will depend on the market and the money flow and that, ma'am, cash flow.
The first one which you said for the want is, that is what is demand. Understood?
Okay.
Want is
Okay.
you want, that isn't necessary. You want that particular commodity, that's all. But whether it becomes a demand or not is not known. It becomes demand only when your willingness to purchase and you have
Ma'am,
capability to purchase. You should
ma'am,
have
when
yeah.
sorry to
Agree.
interrupt.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
please.
Sorry to interrupt. Ma'am, want is ma'am, when want is become need of consumer, then it becomes demand.
Yes, demand. But demand is defined in a different way. All your needs need not be demand. It becomes demand only if you have that need has a purchasing power. You want it, you need it, but you can't afford to have it. If you can't afford to have it, it doesn't become demand. When you are exclusively able to pay for it and get the commodity, then only it becomes the demand. You
Yes,
have
ma'am.
the capacity to purchase, but you don't want, you don't need it. Then it doesn't become a demand. You see so thousands of things daily, but you're not going to purchase everything. You're not going to demand everything. Are you? You'll do what you want, you are going to demand. What you need, you demand. So what
Yes, ma'am.
what you're not buying is not demand. So demand is basically capability to purchase and willingness to purchase. Both should be there. The same is the case with the supply also. Okay. At one particular price, he should be ready to supply. He may not be ready to supply if the price is very less. If he is not able to cover his cost, he is not going to buy those goods. You might have seen many a times recently also, farmers have just thrown their tomatoes, they just throw their chilies on the road. Why? Because they're not getting a support price. Minimum price, which is supposed to be given to them, that is also not there. So what is the use of selling it? So they're ready to forgo without selling than throwing it because they're very, very desperate. So when it becomes supply, when they are ready to supply the commodity at a price. Now, why the price is less? Supply is more in the market. And so prices fall. Okay, one time the demand for tomatoes increases to 100 rupees. Oh, thinking it is 100 rupees. All the farmers just produce the tomatoes. In 3 months, the production of tomatoes has increased. The supply is more. The price of from 100 rupees, it may fall to 2 rupees. What is the fate of a farmer who has put in so much of efforts to produce that particular product? I'm just giving a small example. Are you understanding? So from both demand and supply side. So that whatever you're studying at the individual entities, that is called as microeconomics. As I rightly said, there are four entities. One is households, that is individuals, which consists of all the individuals in a household. Then you have firms that produce maybe goods or they may produce services. Then you have what you call as uh, other thing is government. When these two things, firms and households, are not able to manage, if demand and supply is not clear, there's no equilibrium, there is some requirement for the society, then government has to enter. Government has to see, support has to be given. So then there is what you call as this another entity. And sometimes even what is produced within the economy is not enough, you may have to import. So there is a foreign sector. So these are the economy is moving between these four entities of the four entities: firms, households, government, and foreign sector. Everything is around this. The income, goods, services will be flowing on again around this entities only. And while circulating, if everything is okay, there will be equilibrium. But that doesn't happen. It is not so easy to happen. Okay. So here, what are they? Consumers are there. So microeconomics, how we study that? There are resources are scarce. You have so many ends or wants, but all subject of scarcity and making the best choice. What is best for you, that has to be chosen. That is what is learned here in economics. Then, as you know, this is nothing but your microeconomics. Then it's not economics is not restricted to micro and macro. Remember, students, you have many branches of economics. One is public economics is there, where you talk about completely about the government policies, about the government taxation, about the how they are, what are the fiscal policies, how the government taxes, the tax structure is there, and what are the various theories, when it should be taxed, what are the canons of the taxation, what is good to tax, how the government should spend. So completely you will be studying only on the public expenditure, government's expenditure. Then development economy, it only talks about how the economy can develop. Means even within this micro and macro, as you can have further subjects in this particular thing. But here, as a student of management, you will be having only micro and macroeconomics. So as you told, if you are a businessman, you have to know what is the demand, how the demand is coming, how the price is determined, how we have to respond to the government policies. So all this is a part and parcel of your existence. Whether you want to see as an individual, you require it, and as a business, it's more is the requirement of this particular subject. So very much connected to the business. So then aggregate entities, if they're aggregate, here you are studying individual, here you are studying aggregate. So it can be households, it can be firms, it can be government, and it is what you call as foreign sector put together. That is what it is, a Keynesian concept. The circular flow of income is there. There is a physical movement and income flow is there. So what is Y? Y is equal to consumption. That is from the households. Then investment. That is from the firms who are investing. And that is G is the government. Government is the one which any lapses which is happening here, it has to bring about the balance. So that is there. And then you are also exporting and importing. So totally all your income which is there is equal to your expenditure. And this expenditure is further increasing. This is one way of equilibrium. This equilibrium moves to another equilibrium, because remember here, one man's expenditure is another man's income. If people are not spending, what happened now during COVID? What was the problem? What happened during COVID?
There was no income. There was no income.
No income means?
Business.
Yeah.
Business has
yes, correct.
has gone down, and like business
Yes.
are shut down.
Yes.
Economy has gone
Yes.
way down. Rates are increased.
No investment, correct. Bharatwaj is
Rate.
no, its economy lapses. Okay. Yes,
Rates
tell me.
rates are increase of petrol
The
and
firms are not operating, ma'am. Actually, that is the problem. Due to the lockdown, there was a shortage of labor, and the production has reduced to 50%. Now
Yes.
also it has not started. For that, the demand has increased, and the supply didn't match with the demand. So the prices have also increased for that, ma'am.
Yes, loss of supply, investment is not there, correct. So now you have already seen this situation now. This is a specular situation, understood? By the people and the investor was less, and in turn, even income reduced. Yes, correct. Incomes have reduced, no investment, people have lost their jobs. So if what will happen if one man, it's a cycle. One man's expenditure is another man's income. I don't have my income, so I'm not spending. If I don't spend, the investor is not going to invest. First of all, the situation now is totally different. It's not that people do not want to work. It is not that it is a depression. That's why the investment is not taking place. It's because we have officially declared that we have to have a lockdown. We have to first, survival is more important than the production or than any other thing now, isn't it? The first priority is that we have to survive. If you are there, then you can earn, you can eat, you can live, you can enjoy. But if your life itself is at risk, it's better that will not spread this disease, and that's the main reason why the lockdowns have taken place, isn't it? So the situation is completely different. But remember here, as people are not having income, they are not able to spend. And one more thing is, one is lack of demand, another is lack of supply. Both is happening now. Why lack of supply? There is no investments. Why no investment? People are not ready to, in with lockdown, they can't go and work. Even they want to invest also, they are not able to invest. So because of the lockdown which is there, they cannot operate their factories. Almost all the countries GDP, world's GDP has come down because because of this COVID, isn't it? No production, correct? No production is there. So you are chatting, very good. So that is the main problem of the economy now. It's not related to the economic problem, what to produce, how much to produce, is there a recession, is there a banking system has failed? These are not the reasons. This is completely a new reason. But again, here again, you have seen that the monetary policy, fiscal policy, how the RBI is supporting. Just by supporting doesn't mean that people are taking a loan which is available at a cheaper cost and they are going to invest. Understood? Unless and until it opens up, the economy opens up, then only it is possible. Yes, does low in economics cause high inflation? Yeah. Does low in can anybody? Yes, whoever has asked this question, you can raise this question again. Who is this?
Ma'am, this is
Bandesh.
Bandesh.
Yeah, please.
Does
Bandesh.
low in economics, does the inflation increase in the specific reason?
Yes. See, whenever supply is less, what do you mean by is that supply? There are two ways why the inflation occurs. One is it is a demand pull. Demand pull happens whenever the money supply is more. If people are having more income, obviously what they do, they demand. So because demand is there and supply is very less, supply is not there, demand is more. So obviously to match it, whoever can give a high price will get the goods. So more money chasing few goods is one definition of inflation. More money is more, but goods are less. And that leads to inflation. Economic activities being less, yes, whatever you're saying, it will happen in the future. But that's the reason why the monetary authorities have entered into the field and have reduced most of the lending rates. So by reducing the lending rates, what will happen? They are trying to control the money supply is more so that people will demand. And if there is a demand, there will be a supply, and it should not lead to inflation. Usually, whenever there is increase in money supply, it leads to inflation. People will be demanding, but goods are not there. But the intervention by the monetary policy, they try to control it. Okay. It happens. It is always there. As you have asked this question, I'll tell you very important. See here, if the economy, like in physics, how you are having equation of relativity, what is that? Which is that mc square, isn't it? All of you have studied in your schools, no?
Yes, ma'am. E is equal to MC square.
E is equal to MC square. In the same way, in economics, according to me, one of the important, what you call as things which has to be there in the economy. If I can type it here, I'll tell you about it. 1 minute. Hello.
अब कीजिए यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन चैट के थ्रू बिकॉज चैट रूम्स आर द न्यू क्लासरूम्स। सिलेबस के सारे टॉपिक्स मोबाइल चैट पर मौजूद, क्वेरी के लिए मेंटर्स मौजूद, लेकिन चैट के थ्रू कंसंट्रेट हो पाएगा। सुनिए और पढ़िए क्या कहना है हैबिटेट के रेगुलर यूजर्स का।
This platform is very useful for discussion. When we read alone, we don't give importance to every point. We try to skip, but when you're discussing with the community, with other people who read the same thing, you tend to concentrate on what they're saying, what they're doing, what they're sharing, and then you decide what's best.
I want to share. I have to use the board. I'll come back. Yeah. See here, I just told you what is this. So, very important equation. MV is equal to Yes, this is a very important equation. Now, whatever doubts you had about the inflation, I can tell you here. What is this MV? As it is a bridge course, anything we can discuss about, any clarification we can clear here. We don't have any syllabus here. We don't have any format here as such. We are just trying to understand certain things. Okay, so now what is MV? MV is money supply. M is the money supply. V is the velocity. In what speed the money supply is increasing, that has to be equal to your price. P stands for the price level. T stands for the transaction. So transaction of what we do? What are the things we are transacting, students, normally? Yes?
Price tag.
Yes?
Goods and services.
Very good, isn't it? So if goods and services are multiplied by the price index, what do we get?
Money velocity.
Huh? What do we get? In the economy, if price index is multiplied with all the goods and services produced in that given year, what are we getting here, there?
Inflation.
Hmm?
Inflation.
Ma'am, market demand.
No, what
Money velocity.
Yeah, that is money velocity. See here, this is price multiplied by the output, isn't it? What is transaction of the goods and services produced? That is nothing but the output. That is nothing but your GDP or GNP, isn't it? This is a national income. This side you have national
Revenue.
income. This is the real economy. What is more important is the real economy and not your money economy. This is money supply, velocity. Let me tell you an example. For example, if you are investing 100 rupees in the morning, can't you make it into 1000 rupees by the evening? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can do it. That happens in the money market. You are paid in interest because of the fast velocity of the money. That can be made. That can be doubled. That can be what you call as 100 rupees can become 1000 rupees. So by so many times it has increased. Correct. So always remember that money supply increases in an exponential manner. It's very fast. It can grow. What about the GDP? What about the national income? That is the real goods and services. Even your coriander leaves, if you want to grow, it will take a week. Your onions will take 3 months. Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
And
Yes,
if
ma'am.
your aeroplane is there, it takes more time. If a school construction is there, it takes more time. If there is a dress which you have to produce, it may take 1 day or few hours to do it. It doesn't move, it doesn't increase as it is increasing in case of money supply. So that's why money supply is always in a exponential manner it grows, whereas your national income always grows in a arithmetic progression. That means 2, 4, 6, 8, got it? 10 grows very slow. So what will happen? What will be growing fast? Money supply. What about national income? It's growing low. So obviously more money chasing few goods leads to inflation. Whenever there is, whatever now the RBI is doing, making money very cheap, available to easily. Why? Of course, to increase the demand. But over a period of time, what it is going to happen, it is bound to increase the inflation. Because this is a Fisher's equation. This has been given, it's called as quantity theory of money. Understood? This quantity theory of money, of course, we will not go in deep into it. This is only a bridge course. So it is called as Fisher's equation. Okay. So what he says here, it's very important that this type of what you call as problems arises. So if money supply will increase, if you have money, you're going to demand goods, but goods are not there. This raises the price. As simple as that. Understood? You asked you about the inflation. That's why I'm just telling you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if the government is giving means the repo rate it is becoming less, then can there be chances of deflation, ma'am, when the money will be there in the hands of the consumers, but the supply is not there, and means it will be a total chance of deflation? Can there be a possibility, ma'am?
Yeah. So what you are saying is that because our repo rate is reduced, most of the rates by the government is reduced, correct?
Yes, ma'am. So more money will come into the hands of the consumer.
Yeah, correct. No doubt about it. More money will come then.
The supply will not increase considerably, ma'am.
Correct. Where, when it will happen? It will, see here, this, when they are reducing it, who are supposed to take that money? From whom it is reduced? The
Ma'am,
repo rate.
banks,
Whom it is reduced? For whom
ma'am,
is it reduced? Cash reserve ratio.
ma'am, so RBI will reduce the interest to the commercial banks, ma'am.
Very right. So when will the commercial banks take it?
Ma'am, commercial banks will take it in the reduced rate. So they will also reduce the rate at which they will give loan to the consumers.
Yes. That means ultimately who has to take?
Ma'am, consumers.
They have to take the loan, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So it all depends upon the market situations.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether I am going to earn the profit or not. Just because somebody is giving me a loan at a low rate, I am not going to take a loan. Whether my returns are going to be there or not. My investment should give me returns.
Yes, ma'am.
My investments are not going to give returns. Even if you give me a loan at a 0%, I am not ready to take. I don't want.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So
Yes.
even though the RBI may be taking 101 policies, reducing everything, easy accessibility, it may be giving, not necessary that is going to boost the economy. It's only what you call as feeling that in case if they want, in case they want to start, in case they are ready for that. They are ready to give. But to what extent investors are ready to take it is again a question mark. And if investors are ready, then only commercial banks will take. If they are taking also, they have to pay even 4%, if then 3% CRR, they have to do it, no? They have to pay it to the RBI. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When there is a demand from the customer, then only they'll do it. If the loan demand is there, then only they'll do it. Otherwise, they won't do it. And it all depends upon the market. Who is going to invest in the lockdown? Who will take a loan and go on paying the EMIs? Interest, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
That is the problem. Got it? So that
Yes,
is
ma'am.
how,
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah, monetary, no doubt they are doing it. That is what they expect. But if in case if they are doing it, loan is a liability. Yes, correct. And that's why they'll think twice before raising a loan. They have to repay back sometime. So even though they are getting it, it is not necessary that they are going to take it, and they will not be sure about the market. Once the market picks up and easily if the money is available, immediately what will happen, it generates inflation. It's going to create inflation. In case if the market, what you call as, plunges back and there is economy is again on the wheels, ultimately what will happen, it will affect the economy. And then again RBI has to raise all its rates and cheap availability of the credit has to be stopped. Got it? It's
Yes,
for a
ma'am.
period of time these things go on happening. As already you said, what you call as, what are the different types of the economic systems? As market economies, command or planned economies, and mixed economies. So what we have in China, though it usually a command economy, a communist economy is supposed to be a closed economy, okay? And market economies always been a free enterprise economies. Of course, there has been what you call as evolution of it, how they have changed from a, what you call as nomadic tribes to a feudal lords, and feudal lords to capitalism, and from capitalism to socialism. Some countries adopted socialist ideas, then how we came to a mixed economy. So there is a complete evolution of these systems over a period of time. Okay, all command economies today. Russia is no more a command economy or a communist country, correct? Or Germany, for example, East and West, there was a difference, and they also Yugoslavia. So they have not completely become market economies, but at the same time, they are not pure command economies. Russia, of course, it's a market economy today. It's no more a command or a communistic country as such. Even the Lenin's statue, they have just broken it. They have, you might have known, isn't it? To what extent now they hate these communist ideas. Anyway, so now this command economy, here what happens, there is market economists, there are command economists, and or planned economies and mixed economy. So here all the resources are owned by the private individuals. Nowadays, if market failures are there, government has to intervene even here. That means it's not pure capitalism. And then communist, where all the decisions about what to produce, how much to produce, where to produce, for whom to produce, all these decisions are made by the government, the central authority. Understood? Central authority. So they do not have so much of consumer goods, but China realizing that if you are not opening up the economy, we are a loser. And that's why they opened up their economy. And today, market plays a very important role even in that economy. Though what they want, they can do. Then mixed economy where you have both PPP partner. That is PPP is not public-private partnership is there in this. Both take up. Market plays an important role. Whatever is not given by the market, it is the government which provides it. And welfare. All economies are welfare oriented. Okay. So now what is, we have seen this is what is economics and what is business. Business means there are firms, they have their goals. What are their goals? They want to sell goods and services to individuals, that is households, and households demand, then they have income. So where does it come? The income again comes from the firms, government and foreign sector. See how firms are related, are dependent upon the entities of the economy. They are not two separate entities. They are part and parcel of the economy. Whatever government does, whatever happens in the foreign sector, whatever happens in the household will have an impact on your business. Anything, anywhere, if it fails, it will have an impact on the business. They're all related. Government policies are related. Foreign sector, it is related. If there is a recession in some country, it is bound to affect your business. Business is an activity that is done on daily basis to earn profits, correct? So what are the goals? So all these are influenced by means of production, that is ownership, that is the system. So maximization of profit, as somebody said, what we want to maximize the profits. And then some may want to increase the sales. Some may want limit pricing. They want to keep a price at a lower level so that others will not enter into the market. They want to avoid the competition. You may be knowing that how the Jio, what did they do? How did this Jio Reliance people try to enter the market?
Ma'am, at first Jio gave too many offers that they only charge 100 rupees for the activation of SIM, and then they gave data.
Free, they had given free data, internet access.
Yes, ma'am.
Almost for more than 1 year. For more than
yes, ma'am.
1 year.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And then, ma'am, after they were, the Airtel and other Vodafone users were charging 98 rupees, means 499 for 1 GB, and they gave 1 GB net to everybody for 1 day and every unlimited access to the internet. At that time, that means they were the Bharti Airtel, and they were not able to
survive. Many people went away from the market, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Because they wanted to capture the market. That is what is, by limiting the price, by not giving any price, they have entered the market, correct? And that is possible only if you are already a well-established firm. If you have that capability to stand, they got many advantages. People did go for Jio, and they got a data, knowing to what extent people can use the free data which is available. What is the capacity of the people? To what extent they can use? The usage was known to them, isn't it? You provided a big data to the Reliance people. What is the usage? To what extent they use? For what purpose they use? That all this will help them in pricing strategy in the future. And that has helped them, isn't it? And then even then, the tough competition was always there, but still Airtel could stand in this competition. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
Ma'am, but due to Jio only, the upgradation from 2G to 4G was there, ma'am. Means other competitors did the upgrade for Jio
always
only.
Healthy competition is always advantageous to the customers. But beyond a point, what happens is that these few people, they come together and try to exploit the consumer. Merging, acquisitions takes place. They don't want to fight among themselves and bring about the improvements. They try to, what you call as, take the advantage of the situation and price it at a higher level. Okay, limit pricing, average pricing. These are the things which they do. Are you understanding, students? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is about the firms, this is about the market. So now I'll just, whatever I've just spoken to you, the same thing about the introduction of the economics, I'll just show you the slide here. I don't want to burden you with lot of knowledge. It should be just a glance. Somebody, yes, somebody is saying yes, correct. Are you able to understand my way of teaching students?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it
Yes,
clear?
ma'am.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, students. Yes, I'll show you this. We'll skip that.
Whether to increase its spending when there's a recession. And
Did we just get heckled?
well, anyways, we're making our crash course economics series at the YouTube space in lovely Los Angeles, California, because Mr.
Oh, sorry. Well, okay. Well, in that case, why don't you guys just introduce yourself? Okay. I'm Mr. Clifford, and I'm a high school economics.
The most important question in economics is, where's John Green? I mean, everyone knows who won a bronze medal in economics, the Alabama State Academic Decathlon. Well, John Green isn't hosting because economics. We'll explain later.
So let's start with the basics. What is economics? Well, it might be easy to determine what economics isn't. Economics is not the study of money or getting rich, although understanding economics can help with that. Economics is not the study of the stock market. It's just not. And economics is not primarily about men in bow ties forecasting what will happen in a given market or the overall economy. Actually, a few economists do that, but that's not the main focus of economics. Economics is the study of people and choices. The famous economist Alfred Marshall defined economics as a study of man
and woman
in the ordinary business of life. It inquires how he gets his income and how he uses it. Thus, it is on the one side the study of wealth, and the other, more important side, a part of the study of man
and woman. So let's talk a minute about what else econ is. Economics is an 18-year-old deciding whether to work or go to college and how that affects your future income. Economics is a company deciding whether to produce smartphones or tablets and how that's influenced by what we consumers want to buy. Economics is the government deciding whether to increase its spending when there's a recession and if it's worth going into debt. So despite what you might think, economics is not boring and dull. Okay, some of it is, but it's not all like that. I promise, it's awesome. Understanding econ can forever change the way you think and problem solve. Our job over the next 40 weeks is to teach you concepts that will help you understand the world and hopefully make it a better place. No matter who you are, you will be using economics. In fact, you are using econ right now. You made a choice to watch this video. That means you must feel that the benefit outweighs the cost. You might be thinking, this is YouTube. There's no cost. But sure there is. You could be watching videos of kittens or skaters falling on their face or Charlie biting fingers. Oh, the cost of watching this video is the video you're not watching. The value of the next best alternative. Economists call this your opportunity cost. If you're still watching this video, it means that you believe it's the best use of your time, or you wouldn't be watching it. But what if I'm watching this at school? You ask, what if I'm forced to watch this? Well, you weren't forced to go to school. You could ditch, you could drop out, you could move to a country that doesn't have compulsory education. But the cost would outweigh the benefit. Even if you are at school, you're not forced to watch the video. You could close your eyes or put your head down. No one's gonna pry your eyes open. That'd be creepy. Now let's talk about why John Green isn't here teaching this course. John is an entrepreneur. He writes books, runs the FTBA, Vlogbrothers, and Mental Floss, and creates movies, but he can't do everything he wants to do. He looked at the benefits and costs of his choices, and in the end, decided to spend more time writing books. So Mr. Clifford and I are jumping in to teach you economics.
And believe it or not, we just covered the two most important assumptions in all of economics. First, the idea of scarcity. People have unlimited wants, but limited resources. And second, everything has a cost. And if these assumptions are true, then we need a way to analyze our choices and get the most from our limited resources. And that's economics.
Wait, but let's go back to the idea of benefits and costs. About 30,000 people a year die in car accidents in the US. Is there a way to ensure there will never be another traffic fatality? Yes, we could crush all the cars, close the roads, and force everyone to walk. That would solve the car crash problem. Do you want to decrease the number of people convicted of murder? You could decriminalize murder. You want to end the unethical treatment of elephants? You could kill off all the elephants in an ethical way, of course. But before you decide to tenderly euthanize herds of beautiful elephants, think about it for a second. Each of these solutions is absurd because the cost clearly outweighs the benefit. Traffic fatalities are tragic, but we don't prevent them at all costs. You know that driving has risks, that you might get in a car accident, but you still drive. Why? Well, first, who's going to walk to the gym? And walking home with heavy groceries in the rain is way worse than the teeny tiny chance of dying in a car crash. The point is, individuals, businesses, and countries can't have everything. So they're forced to weigh the benefits and costs of their decisions and make choices. Let's look at another example. Military spending in the United States is over $600 billion per year. That's close to what the next top 10 countries spend combined. There are a total of about 20 active aircraft carriers in the world today, and the US has half of them and is building more. The opportunity cost of those aircraft carriers could be hospitals, schools, and roads. So is the US spending too much on the military? Should the US focus on making guns or butter? That is, weapons or consumer goods?
And notice the key word here is or. We can't produce an infinite amount of weapons and consumer goods because we don't have an infinite amount of workers and farms and factories and raw materials. Scarcity means we must make a choice. The American president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, explained this best in 1953 in a speech about Cold War military buildup. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those that are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It's spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. And this is a good time to mention the role of politics in economics. We're not pushing some liberal anti-military policy. We're just pointing out that military spending has an opportunity cost. The resources not being used for social services, like feeding the hungry. We're going to try not to push a political agenda on you. We're going to show you both sides and let you decide which one's best. So please don't say Mr. Clifford loves capitalism, so he's just a pro-business conservative, or Adrian's talking about environmental regulation, so she's an anti-business liberal. Yeah, we are pro-business, and you are too. I mean, where do you think your computer came from? That computer was brought to you by capitalism and the private sector. But that being said, the security and laws, roads, and that traffic ticket you got the other day came from the government. Conservatives and liberals fight over the details, but the free market alone can't solve all of our problems, and the government can't solve all of them either. Government officials use economic theories to guide public policy. Their effects are widespread and affect billions of people. Sometimes the theory is flawed, but many times the policy is flawed. Economists suggest policies based on theories supported by data and understanding incentives. Having the right incentive is key.
But the right incentives can be hard to figure out. Take, for example, public colleges and universities. Many of them used to get state money for each student they enrolled. That meant universities had financial incentives to focus on recruiting as many students as possible, but not actually helping them succeed once they were in class. So states have started changing the incentives. Now, more and more states reward schools for the number of students that complete courses or earn degrees. And in some places, this has worked. It's helped schools increase their graduation rates by shifting money from marketing budgets to programs to help students do better. But those incentives can also backfire. They're poorly designed. A university that gets money for graduates could push students through the program without giving them a good education. It might want to admit only students who come in with super high test scores, instead of considering other factors that might make them good candidates. It might push students into less rigorous majors. But incentives can help solve problems without adding more resources. You just have to get the incentives right.
Yes.
Many non-economists assume
Ma'am, the video isn't visible.
More money.
Not
Isn't
visible.
To point out that the US already spends almost twice
No,
as
ma'am.
much as other rich countries. And in many cases, they get
wait.
worse health outcomes. But whether to increase its spending when there's a recession and if it's worth going into
You can
debt.
only listen
So
it.
despite what you might think,
Yes, ma'am, it's only audible.
not boring and dull. Okay, some of it is, but it's not all like that. I promise. It's awesome. Understanding econ can forever change the way you think and problem solve. Our job over the next 40 weeks is to teach you concepts that will help you understand the world and hopefully make it a better place. No matter who you are, you will be using economics. In fact, you are using econ right now. You made a choice to watch this video. That means you must feel that the benefit outweighs the cost. You might be thinking, this is YouTube. There's no cost, but sure there is. You could be watching videos of kittens or skaters falling on their face or Charlie biting fingers. Ow! The cost of watching this video is the video you're not watching. The value of the next best alternative. Economists call this your opportunity cost. If you're still watching this video, it means that you believe it's the best use of your time, or you wouldn't be watching it. But what if I'm watching this at school? You ask, what if I'm forced to watch this? Well, you weren't forced to go to school. You could ditch, you could drop out, you could move to a country that doesn't have compulsory education. But the cost would outweigh the benefit. Even if you are at school, you're not forced to watch the video. You could close your eyes or put your head down. No one's gonna pry your eyes open. That'd be creepy. Now let's talk about why John Green isn't here teaching this course. John is an entrepreneur. He writes books, runs the FTBA, Blog Brothers, and Mental Plus, and creates movies, but he can't do everything he wants to do. He looked at the benefits and costs of his choices, and in the end, decided to spend more time writing books. So Mr. Clifford and I are jumping in to teach you economics.
And believe it or not, here come the two most important assumptions in all of economics. First, the idea that people have unlimited wants.
No, ma'am. But you could hear everything, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Understood, know what they are saying?
Yes, ma'am. A little bit.
Wait, but let's go back to the idea of benefits and costs. About 30,000 people a year die in car accidents in the US. Is there a way to ensure there will never be close the roads and force everyone to walk? That would solve the car crash problem. Do you want to decrease the number of people convicted of murder? You could decriminalize murder. You want to end the unethical treatment of elephants? You could kill off all the elephants in an ethical way, of course. But before you decide to tenderly euthanize herds of beautiful elephants, think about it for a second. Each of these solutions is absurd because the cost clearly outweighs the benefit. Traffic fatalities are tragic, but we don't prevent them at all costs. You know that driving has risks, that you might get in a car accident, but you still drive. Why? Well, first, who's going to walk to the gym? And walking home with heavy groceries in the rain is way worse than the teeny tiny chance of dying in a car crash. The point is, individuals, businesses, and countries can't have everything. So they're forced to weigh the benefits and costs of their decisions and make choices. Let's look at another example. Military spending in the United States is over $600 billion per year. That's close to what the next top 10 countries spend combined. There are a total of about 20 active aircraft carriers in the world today, and the US has half of them, and it's building more. The opportunity cost of those aircraft carriers could be hospitals, schools, and roads. So is the US spending too much on the military? Should the US focus on making guns or butter? That is, weapons or consumer goods?
And notice the key word here is or. We can't produce an infinite amount of weapons and consumer goods because we don't have an infinite amount of workers and farms, factories, raw materials. Scarcity means we must make a choice. The American president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, explained this best in 1953 in a speech about Cold War military buildup. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those that are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It's spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. And this is a good time to mention the role of politics in economics. We're not pushing some liberal anti-military policy. We're just pointing out that military spending has an opportunity cost. The resources not being used for social services, like feeding the hungry. We're going to try not to push a political agenda on you. We're going to show you both sides and let you decide which one's best. So please don't say Mr. Clifford loves capitalism, so he's just a pro-business conservative, or Adrian talked about environmental regulation, so she's an anti-business liberal. Yeah, we are pro-business, and you are too. I mean, where do you think your computer came from? That computer was brought to you by capitalism and the private sector. But that being said, the security and laws, roads, and that traffic ticket you got the other day came from the government. Conservatives and liberals fight over the details, but the free market alone can't solve all of our problems. And the government can't solve all of them either. Government officials use economic theories to guide public policy. Their effects are widespread and affect billions of people. Sometimes the theory is flawed, but many times the policy is flawed. Economists suggest policies based on theories supported by data and understanding incentives. Having the right incentive is key.
But the right incentives can be hard to figure out. Take, for example, public colleges and universities. Many of them used to get state money for each student they enrolled. That meant universities had financial incentives to focus on recruiting as many students as possible, but not actually helping them succeed once they were in class. So states have started changing the incentives. Now, more and more states reward schools for the number of students that complete courses or earn degrees. And in some places, this has worked. It helps schools increase their graduation rates by shifting money from marketing budgets to programs to help students do better.
Now
but
you can
those
see
incentives can also backfire if
students.
they're poorly designed. A
No, ma'am.
university that gets money
No,
from
ma'am.
graduate
Only audio is
programs without giving them a good education. It might want to admit only students who come in with super high test scores instead of considering other factors that might make them good candidates. It might push students into less rigorous majors, but incentives can help solve problems without adding more resources. You just have to get the incentives right. Many non-economists assume that the way to improve things like healthcare is to spend more money. Economists would point out that the U.S. already spends almost twice as much per
Yes,
person
ma'am.
as other
Yes,
rich
ma'am.
countries.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
in many cases, they get worse health outcomes. Economists would also say that rather than spending more money, we need to make sure that insurers, hospitals, doctors, and patients have incentives to produce the most effective care possible at the lowest cost possible. The point is, if you mess up the incentives, the policy is not going to work. When Vietnam was under French colonial rule, the regime issued a bounty on rats to exterminate them, giving money to people for handing in rat tails. I guess because piles of rat bodies were too gross. The plan backfired. To make as much money as possible, the rat catchers cut the tails off the rats and released them, allowing them to make baby rats. The policy actually increased the rat population. It made things worse. We'll talk more about this idea of perverse incentives in another video when we talk about the 2008 financial crisis. Again, for now, let's go to the thought bubble.
Speaking of 2008, people sometimes criticize economists asking, why didn't they predict the 2008 financial crisis? Or why can't they agree on what the government should do or shouldn't do when there's a recession? These criticisms fail to distinguish between macroeconomics and microeconomics. Specifically, all these complaints are about macroeconomics. Macro studies the economy as a whole. It looks at the whole nation's output, unemployment, inflation, interest rates, government spending, and growth. Macro answers questions like, will unemployment rise if there's an increase in taxes? Will an increase in the money supply boost output or just increase inflation? Will a slump in European economies cause US economies to slow down? Macroeconomists get more airtime because they predict the direction of the overall economy and work with the media, businesses, and Congress, and the Federal Reserve. But less than half of all economists are macroeconomists. There's a whole other side of economics that look at different questions. How many workers should we hire to maximize profit? If our main competitor releases their product in May, when's the best time to release our product? And which is better for fighting climate change, a gas tax or increase in fuel efficiency? These are all microeconomic questions. They're not about predicting GDP or measuring unemployment, but they are crucial questions that economists must answer. Also, if you don't know what GDP is or what a high or low unemployment rate is, don't worry, we'll get there. So macro and microeconomists are two different groups asking different questions under one academic umbrella. If economics was biology, macroeconomics would be ecology, while micro would be cell biology. If economics was physics, macro would be cosmology and relativity, while microeconomics would be Newtonian mechanics. Thanks, Thought Bubble. See, I've always wanted to say that, and I can cross off my bucket list. And I ring the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange, arm wrestle Ben Bernanke, and swim in a giant pool of money like Uncle Scrooge.
Obviously, we're glossing over the details, but we promise to cover everything in the next 40 weeks. From supply and demand to monetary policy, we'll cover it all, except for maybe the giant pools of money. We can't promise you that learning economics will make you wealthy, but we can promise that learning economics will enlighten your mind and make you a more informed decision maker. And that makes us all better off. Decision maker. And that makes us all better off. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching Crash Course Economics. It was made with the help of all these nice people. They work on the show because there's financial and implicit benefits that cover their opportunity cost. Now, if you want to help them with those financial benefits, consider going over to Patreon. It's a voluntary subscription platform that allows you to pay whatever you want monthly to help.
Yes, students. Now, can you tell me what all you have understood from this? Hello? Hello,
Ma'am,
students.
they were talking about the need
Yeah.
to be created in the market. They were talking about the conservative and liberalist parties and all about how the market demand and all created that much, and the cash flow, new inventions, how it leads to demand and all. And this much I could understood.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anything else? Yes. Anybody else can extend this? What else you have understood? Students? Cost effectiveness versus the benefit. Yeah, many things they have highlighted. They have spoken about whatever I have just spoke before I started this video. All that I had already covered. Do you recollect that? Hello, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I spoke about what is economics at a micro level. It's about scarcity. It is about resources are few, but wants means are many. So they talk about the choosing choice, isn't it? They talk about the opportunity cost. They talk about the understood. They have spoken about how capitalism, what is capitalism all about, how it functions, that they spoke about, and how incentives are important, isn't it? in the incentives are given, how it comes out. Always not necessary incentives gives a good result. Giving an example of graduates, they spoke about that, correct? So like this, there, and even they spoke about the 2008 and what is micro and what is macro. So this is what we usually look into in the economics. Do you want to look the same? See again? No need, no? You've understood, no? Students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Any clarifications you want about it? So have you understood? See, it's not necessary that it economics is only applicable to, it's not only applicable to what you call as your business. It's applicable to day-to-day life of everybody apart from business. So they're all integrated. Firm is part of economics. And remember that economics is supposed to be the queen of all the commerce subjects. Everything comes under that. Everything falls into it. So if economy is good, all other, if whether it is trade, whether it is what you call as production, whether it is international trade, everything will be good. Means it will be towards the boom. And if anything fails in one sector, it will have an impact in all the sectors. So economy is completely about the national income. And national income, from where does it come? It comes from primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors. If you divide this economy into three sectors, primary related to agriculture and allied activities, all the manufacturing is the secondary sector, and all the services are the tertiary sector. So the complete, all the resource, what you call as income generated in these three sectors put together is what is called as your national income. And they are the ones who employ. They are the ones, because of that there is an inflation. So it's all related. You cannot say that economics is useless. You cannot, it is not important to the business. It is very, very important in the business because it is part and parcel of the economy. Have you understood, students? Do you have anything to clarify? Clarification?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. How did you find? Are you
Inspirational.
interested? It is interesting.
Yes, ma'am.
Subject.
Interesting, ma'am.
Yes. Already, all of you do like this particular subject.
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
make the
ma'am.
classes more interesting once we
Yes.
start. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you. See you then. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Have a
Thank
good
Thank
day.
you, ma'am.
Yeah, you can
Thank you,
always
ma'am.
connect with
Thank you,
me.
ma'am.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.